Are you sick and tired of getting absolutely blasted by Lethal Company's entourage of critters and creatures? Well, fear not, ladies and gentlemen, for I, Dakosity, am going to show you, the viewer, how to avoid or defeat Lethal Company's greatest threats, so you can bring in all that sweet loot without dying a terrible death, most likely. Anyways, hop into it. I'm sick. Let's get this over with. First on our list, we'll go with one of the least threatening things among us, the Hoarding bug. Now, generally, as long as you don't run into the Hoarding bug, you should be fine. What they do is they go around, sometimes they'll follow the player around, trying to pick up loot and bring it back to their nest. There you'll find probably several pieces of loot that they've collected throughout the map. To aggro them, you just go pick up their, the shit that they got in the nest. That's it. And in order to defeat them, you just beat them to death with a shovel. They do really low damage, so you should be able to 1v1 them with ease. Getting away with them is also quite easy because they're very bad at turning. This one, to be honest, you really don't even need a good guide. Just dance around them. They're the jobber of this game. Very easy to avoid, very easy to take down. I'm so happy when I see a Hoarding bug in my game, because that means something else isn't there. The Spore Lizard is another very, not a threat at all, to be honest. They're giant catfish-like monsters that, when upon seeing you, will simply retreat into the shadows. So just don't chase it. If you do try to fight it for some reason, they will bite you for very minuscule damage, although they will kill you eventually. And they will just kind of emit spores, so then it's cloudy and with like a red maroon hue to it, or pink actually, not maroon. What am I saying? I don't know colors, man. I only can see all of them. To be honest, the lizards are quite cute, and I do enjoy their design quite a bit. The Hygrodeer, the slime. It's the blob. It's the blob from Monsters vs. Aliens. You know, Bob, he's played by Seth Rogen. Oh man, what a movie that was. It had Discount Megamind in it. That was great. Very slow moving, very straightforward. Just kind of, you can jump over them if you're at a light enough weight. And if not, you can tank one or two hits, before dying if you're fast enough. To avoid them, you can simply walk on railings, close the door on them, or play the music on the boombox and they will dance to it, apparently. I have not done that myself, but that's what the wiki says. The slime can become bigger over time, and if you hit it with a shovel or a stop sign, they will actually split into two. Allegedly. Again, haven't done that myself. The wiki says it. I tend to just ignore these, even though honestly I like slime monsters. I played Slime Rancher 1 and 2. I might actually go play Slime Rancher 2 after this. I forgot I had it. Thanks for reminding me. The slimes are immune to shock though. You really shouldn't be using any electrical stuff on them. It's a little bit too expensive for such an easy to avoid enemy. Alright, Bunker Spider. Now we're gonna finally start talking about something that's a little bit dangerous. Although this is probably the least threatening of the higher end. Like, I'd rather see a Bunker Spider than say, some of the other things on this list. Sorry if my voice is a little screwed up. I am very sick. You'll know if a Bunker Spider's on the map if you either see him on the wall, obviously, he's a giant spider, or if there's webs all about. The spiders can use the vents. I'll get into the vents in a little bit when we talk about Snare Fleas, but just know, just because one's open doesn't mean it's necessarily that, because several creatures use the vents. That's also a really good tip. Look at the vents if you want to see if there's something nearby or not. If you stand on a railing, you can kill it with the shovel. That's actually a very general strategy for a lot of the creatures on this list. They are very slow, so even walking, generally, you can avoid them. They hit like a truck though, so try not to get bit, although you can actually jump over them if you get a running start. You can break their webs with the shovel, and also just don't get hit by the webs. I forget if I said that or not. If you touch the webs, shocker, the spider's gonna know you're there and go after you. Oh my god, it's realistic. It's like the real life. They put Lethal Company in real life. I saw a spider the other day and it did exactly that. If you're trying to kill a spider, which is kind of really difficult without the railing, obviously, with the shovel, you can kind of walk backwards at a diagonal level, hitting them like while you're spinning in a circle. It's kind of weird. It might take some getting used to, but it is possible to do that without getting hit at all because of the way they attack. You do need a more open area though, of course. A tight hallway is not gonna work. It should be easy to bait them into those rooms because they will chase you for a long time. Circuit bees are very straightforward. You'll see beehives out in the open occasionally. If you get too close, the bees will get off the hive and try to attack you. But beehives, very, very, very expensive items, usually around over 100 units. So what you want to do is get, you and a pal, and one dude gets the bees to chase them while you bring the hive back to your home, right? And if you do that, the bees will eventually stop chasing your friend, go back to where they were, and if they don't see a hive there, they'll just randomly go around the map super aggressive, until they either find a player to kill or another hive. Generally, recommend to do this when you're about to leave, and a really good strategy is to say, take the beehive, outrun them, put it behind the ship, go back in the ship, close the door immediately so the bees don't get in. They cannot get through doors, although if their hitbox is already in the door, you're kind of screwed. The bees are going to be in the ship. This strategy is really nice because if you have the beehive on the railing, kind of like out of the way of your crew, they'll sit on the beehive, right? But then you take the ship and start leaving. And as the ship is flying away, even if you're on the outside of the railing, I'm pretty sure it teleports you back in, even if you're holding an item. So what you do is, while the ship's flying away, the bees will eventually get dragged off the ship because the entities aren't supposed to be there, but the hive will stay there. So just pick up the hive and bring it back into the ship, or just hold it because I'm pretty sure it'll just teleport you back anyway. It's genius and pretty much incredibly low risk unless you're like at 1 HP. Even then, you might not even get hit by the bees because the bees will eventually just get taken off before the game actually starts loading into the, the hub world. Once you get hive running down, it is a very, very lucrative strategy. Dude, my English, it does not work. Lucrative strategy. You should check out my other YouTube video that I made on this game, please. I speak the good English in that one, I promise. The Forest Keeper is going to be one of your biggest threats when dealing with the outside stuff, right? It's giant, it's kind of hard to avoid, especially if it's in between you and the ship and there's no way to break line of sight with it for a long time. They will outrun you. Them full sprinting will outrun your walk. And if you're too heavy carrying a lot of loot, which you should be because you're trying to make money, right? They will outrun you and catch you, especially since you're gonna run out of stamina and he ain't. But there's some tricks that you can pull off to get rid of him. Some strategies would be using a stun grenade. You can even use it right before you're about to die because there is a time frame where you're trying to get eaten by the dude. You can stop him by stunning him with the stun grenade. So basically you're about to get picked up, throw a stun grenade on the ground. You'll get picked up, but the stun grenade will force him to drop you, right? Same thing applies with the zap gun. And there's a small window where you can TP your friend who's being eaten using the teleporter in the ship just away from the dude and, getting eaten. And funny, if he's running full sprint, one of the next creatures we'll talk about, the Leviathan, will eat it. It's actually kind of funny. Giant worm eats big boy. That's an interesting thing. And another great strategy, besides just keeping, do not keep line of sight with them for too long because they'll find you. Stay behind trees, bushes, etc. Crouch even. If the giant is at the door, it's aggroed on someone inside, right? It can't get in the ship, but it can go on the railing. So if you need people to get in the ship, but the giant's in the way, have someone get on the roof of the ship to aggro it so it can't get them, and you'll kind of guide it around the ship to the back so then people can get in the front, right? And then the guy on the roof just jumps into the, he has priority there, he's on the roof. Definitely one of the most dangerous creatures though. They come out at the worst times, especially if there's more than one. They are usually my run enders, which is kind of sad. They usually cause it. I'm not usually dying to them, but they're usually the reason I die because they force me into a position I don't want to be in. And now we're just gonna talk about the Earth Leviathan, I guess, since I already mentioned it. I spoiled it. Giant worm, giant red dot on the radar. If you hear a muffled growl and then the ground starts to shake, run. Just run away from the zone that's rumbling. And if you're too heavy, immediately drop items and continue to sprint. Do not hide on top of rocks. It will not work. Do not hide out. If you see them rumbling, just get out. That's the easiest way to avoid it. It's really straightforward. Just sprint. Make sure you have stamina. When you are outside, do not sprint on autopilot. You will get screwed over so much. I mean, you shouldn't be sprinting sprinting on autopilot in general in this game, right? You should just like holding down sprint the entire time unless you're on like the first planet. Very easy to avoid, but also can screw you over very easily as well. They will eat the items. You cannot recover the body, and the items will just disappear when they eat you. And they can eat multiple people at once, including, you know, the tree keeper, the forest keeper, sorry. Baboon Hawks are my favorite creature in this game. Very funny. So basically, they'll only attack the player if they're on equal footing or have a greater number, because they attack in troops almost, in packs, per se. So a good strategy is to just stick together when you're outside, if you know there's Baboon Hawks nearby. They will kind of just stay in the distance. They'll always be following you, but if there's less of them than you, they'll just kind of, you know, keep the distance, kind of harass you, make noises. They will attack you if you get too close, regardless of whether or not they're at higher numbers or not. They take 7 hits to kill, so it's really not worth it to try and hit them with the shovel, because you might lose. That's a really dangerous fight you're taking on. And they will actually fight the next creature on this list, Eyeless Dogs. It's actually quite funny watching that happen, because they have no business doing that. And if they kill a player, they'll spear it with their beak. I've never actually seen it myself. I'm reading the wiki right now, but apparently they do that. Although, actually, I might have a clip of this. They did take my friend's body away. They just took it away. Eyeless Dogs are pretty easy to avoid, but also can cause you a lot of trouble because they're very big and cover a huge amount of area in a short time. And they can go in the ship, so it can be a really bad run ender if they're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. You can actually kind of turn to the side if they're full sprinting at you while you're full sprinting, and they'll miss you with their lunge attack, which gives you some more opportunity to get away, right? But generally, what you want to do is stay quiet, crouch, just slowly walk past them. Do not turn off or on your radio. If your radio is already on, they will not hear it. They can actually die to lightning, so if you want to lure them into, say, a shiny object, and it'll strike them by lightning, strike them with lightning. What am I, dude? I'm reading words and they're coming out of my brain, and it's not coming out the way I think they're coming out. Help me. Using a boombox is also a good way of luring them away. Snare Fleas are some of the most dangerous creatures that could end your run instantly, or just kill you instantly regardless. Make sure the vents are not open. If they are open, check the walls, all right? Because they hide up there and they'll latch onto your head and then you're screwed. Zap gun can be used to knock them off a coworker's head. You can hit them with a shovel. Generally, a good strategy is once you find them up there, kind of move a little bit till they fall, but then immediately run. They're fast on the ground, by the way. Kind of lure them to the exit, because once you're like, if they latch onto your head and you immediately go outside, they'll just die. They will die once you go outside. So what's best is to run to the exit door, right? When you have them on your head, the problem is you can't see and your voice is muffled. So if you're isolated, you're kind of screwed. A player can teleport you away from it, I guess, but that's like a weird synergy. Good luck timing that, because I can't imagine you can use a radio when doing that. If you can locate your weapon on the ground, you can actually pick it up and then hit yourself in the head with it, basically, which is good. And they can't open doors. Oh yes, the Bracken. One of the most deadly creatures you'll find in the complex. 2 beady white eyes peer through the darkness at you. Look away before it's too late. To avoid the Bracken, all you really need to do is glance at it and don't get too close. It will constantly hunt one of the players, and every now and then you gotta kind of look at it, but don't look at it too much. If you stare at it for more than like 4 or 5 seconds, it'll come at you like real fast and try to get you and insta-kill you with the snap neck. And if you touch it, even if you're like behind it somehow, you'll still die. You can use the zap gun on it though. Don't walk toward it either. It's very tricky. If it ends up killing one of your teammates, it will usually drag its body to like its nest area, right? And then sometimes it'll even guard it, which will make it really hard to get the body back. Once you know that there's a Bracken near you, you have to really kind of just keep glancing in a 360-degree angle every single couple seconds. It's really annoying. If you're isolated, the Bracken can kill you without you even knowing it's there. It does not make any noises sometimes. And oddly enough, there is a 0.5 to 2% chance that it will spawn behind you in a flash of light, sorry, to catch you off guard, which is insane. Coil Heads are one of my favorite monsters. You cannot kill this with a shovel or sign. Stun grenades will stop it in its tracks, or at least disable it for a bit. How it works is, it works like SCP, I think 137, where you When you're looking at it, that's when it stops. Someone has to constantly be looking at it. But if you're not looking at it, it'll come flying at you, making all sorts of noises because its head's on a coil and it's going back and forth and shit, right? Sorry, again, my nose is like, I can't breathe out my nose right now. A good strategy for the coil head is to just have one person constantly looking at it while the other one goes around and gets loot and shit. This enemy is very dangerous when there's other monsters nearby because obviously you have to constantly have your attention on this, and that makes moving around other enemies very awkward. It can be locked behind secure doors through the ship's console. So like those doors that have numbers on them, if you're using the monitor, and you can open them and close them via the computer. I can make a whole video on like tips and stuff on that, but let me know in the comments, by the way. Funny enough, if you're killed by a coil head and then you're later discovered, your head will be a coil. If you stand on an elevated surface, it will make you protected from the coil head, even if you're not looking at it. You can actually touch the coil head even if you're like, if you're still staring at it, but you have to stare at its center of mass because that's where the main hitbox is. Sometimes it's a little finicky because if you break line of sight through like a railing or something, it will not count as you looking at it and it'll start moving again. But yeah, these are typically very easy to avoid and easy to deal with. You can't get rid of them though. You can only lock them behind secured doors, and they are difficult to deal with when there's other creatures nearby or multiple coil heads coming from different angles because obviously can't look everywhere at once. Wow, my nose is terrible. Holy crap. The Jester is one of the most dangerous creatures. It's just a box with feet, very goofy looking. Walks up to you, sort of follows the player for a bit, then it'll start winding up. Now it'll start winding up for like 40 seconds, 60 if you use a stun grenade on it while it's still winding. But once it pops, you better get the hell out of that building. In fact, you should get out of that building right before it pops or something. Everyone in the game. Because it does not operate on sound or anything. You cannot hide from the Jester. It will come at you forever, it will outrun you, and it will insta-kill you. And then it will go immediately to the next player in the building. Everyone has to leave the building for it to reset into the box mode, so then you can go in and try to get stuff until it starts spinning again. These generally spawn on harder moons, although it can occasionally spawn on like intermediate ones. The Thumper, my favorite. They're all my favorite. I love the creatures in this game. Thumper, or a land shark, is a monster. Sorry, my nose is making this really difficult. You can stun it, you can kill it. 4 to 6 HP points with the shovel, I'm pretty sure. So 4 to 6 hits with it should kill it. And the thing that makes this troublesome is it's deaf, so it has to see you. That doesn't make it troublesome. What the hell am I talking about? A really easy way to avoid this is to just jump on top of a railing and then beat it to death with a shovel while it's helpless. The thing is though, once it spots you, it'll start coming at you, right? But another good way to avoid it if there's no railings or elevated surfaces is to run zigzag, do the snake method, because the Thumper builds up momentum by going in a straight line. It is a really hard time moving back to back. And in fact, you can actually kind of dodge its lunge once it's built up enough momentum. It will literally just go flying past you. It takes them a minute to turn, so those are good opportunities to hit it with the shovel before backing away and trying to get it to turn again. But yeah, once you hear their screaming, just evade. Get out of the way and go on a railing or something, because they will chase you for a long time, and they are very loud. And second to last, we've got the Ghost Girl. Now, the Ghost Girl can only be seen by one person. Very spooky, very scary. There are distinct signs that the Ghost Girl is watching you and is targeting you specifically. Lights and terminal flickering, giggling and heavy breathing, or your hearing becomes muffled and difficult to perceive. Basically, you start kind of feeling like you're going insane. She tends to haunt you for a bit before actually trying to get you. The Ghost Girl's targeting is based off of a point system. How did the points get added up? Well, let's find out. So the most paranoid player, which is the person who turns their camera the most, is gonna get 30 points for that system. Critically injured gets 10. Player holding items worth more than 150 scrap get another 30 points. And the most insane player receives an additional 50. How does your insanity get calculated? Because I didn't even know that was a mechanic until reading the wiki. Well, I'll tell you. If you're inside of the building, it will increase at a rate at 0.8. If they're inside the ship, it'll increase at 0.2 as a rate. I'm assuming per second. I'm not sure. It's not telling me. If they're outside and it is sundown or even later, it'll increase at a rate of 0.5. Earlier than sundown, if they're outside, 0.3. And if you're near other players, then your insanity level actually goes down by 3, or on the walkie-talkie. If you approach the girl before you're being actually hunted, you will make her disappear. But if you do that when she's hunting you, you will die. She's hunting you if she starts skipping at you. If you teleport them, if you teleport the player, it'll cause the hunt to end, but she won't change her target yet. She will still come after you later. The cameras on the ship can see her, but your actual eyes, if you're not the one being targeted, can. She is technically the rarest enemy in the game, and she's immune to damage. She can kill you inside the ship too, by the way, and outside of it. She will haunt you anywhere. And if she starts skipping at you, just run. Just keep running until she stops. Just get away from her. Do not try to hide from her. Just keep going. Keep running in circles if you have to. Just get away from her, because eventually she will end the hunt and start targeting someone else if she fails that way. And last but not least, the last monster is Jeb, which is just the shopkeeper. Do not make noise near the shop. It'll just suck you in, and then you lose the bodies and you get a pay cut. Great, because you can't receive the bodies even with a teleporter. It's kind of like dying to a Leviathan. Anyways, that's it. That's the guide to all the monsters that I could come up with my brain. Please consider watching my other video, which is probably more edited than this. Check out the rest of the channel. Hopefully I'll start pumping out some gameplay videos for you too. Some modded gameplay videos, in fact. And maybe I'll make a few guides other than this. Oh boy. Anyway, I'm Dakosity Live. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Boggers, goodbye. Check out the description below too.